3 years of 70-hour weeks at a Houston law firm. Never took a single sick day. Then, on the morning I was set to close the biggest deal of my career, I got fired by someone who'd never passed the bar exam just because his last name matched the one on the building. What he didn't know, I was the only reason 41 major clients stayed, and he'd just flipped the switch on his own destruction. My name is Rachel Miles, and at 36, I'd built my entire identity around being the most reliable contract lawyer at Peterman Legal. That Monday morning started like any other coffee at 6:30, desk by 7, reviewing the Hartley Industries acquisition documents for what had to be the 20th time, $12 million. Not our biggest deal, but significant enough that I'd personally shepherded it through 3 months of negotiations. The email notification popped up at 9:47, not from my direct supervisor, Marcus, who was in depositions all week, from Jake Peterman. Please come to my office immediately. Jake, 28 years old, Stanford dropout, son of our founding partner. He'd been installed as executive director 6 weeks ago after what the firm newsletter called an extensive national search. The search that somehow missed every qualified candidate and landed on the boss's kid who'd spent the last 5 years finding himself in Bali. I saved my work, straightened my jacket, and walked the long hallway to the corner office that used to belong to a partner with 30 years' experience. Jake had redecorated gone were the law books and framed degrees, replaced by motivational posters and a putting green. He didn't look up when I knocked. Sit. The chair across from his desk was deliberately low, a power play I'd seen in bad movies. Jake was scrolling through his phone, designer sneakers propped on the mahogany desk his father had imported from Italy. Rachel, he finally acknowledged me, setting down his phone like it pained him. We need to discuss your future here. Is there an issue with the Hartley acquisition I can... It's not about any specific deal. He leaned back, fingers steepled. It's about cultural fit, dynamic synergy, the direction we're taking the firm. Cultural fit. I'd billed more hours than any other non-partner for 3 consecutive years. My client retention rate was 94%. But sure, let's talk about synergy. I'm not following. Look, you're competent. No one's saying you're not competent. The way he said it made competent sound like an insult. But Peterman Legal is evolving. We need team players who understand innovation, disruption, people who think outside the box. I bit back the urge to mention that law firms succeeded by thinking inside very specific statutory and regulatory boxes. That's literally what clients paid us for. What are you saying, Jake? Today's your last day. Security will escort you out after you sign this. He slid a packet across the desk. Non-disclosure agreement, non-compete clause, 3-month severance if I went quietly. You're firing me. The week before Hartley closes. Tori will handle the transition. He checked his phone again, already bored with ruining my life. Tori, his girlfriend, the paralegal who'd started 4 weeks ago and still couldn't format a memo properly. I'd caught her using ChatGPT to write client correspondence. Tori doesn't have a law license. She legally cannot. That's no longer your concern. His smile was all teeth, no warmth. You have 1 hour to clear out your office. And Rachel, the NDA is non-negotiable. You discuss any client matters, any proprietary information, and we'll bury you in litigation. Daddy's firm has very deep pockets. I stood, keeping my face neutral. 3 years. 3 years of skipped vacations, working through pneumonia, building relationships with 41 corporate clients who trusted me with their million-dollar problems. 3 years of creating systems, templates, and processes that this firm ran on. My name wasn't on a single public document, but my fingerprints were on every major deal. 1 hour, Jake repeated, already typing on his phone. Leave your keycard with security. I walked back to my office in a daze. Through the glass walls, I could see my colleagues avoiding eye contact. Word traveled fast in law firms. I was radioactive now. 1 hour to pack up 3 years. I pulled out my personal laptop, the one I'd used for late-night work when the firm's ancient systems crashed. My personal phone, the number I'd given to clients who needed weekend assistance, my handwritten notes, my reference books, my coffee mug that said, "World's Okayest Lawyer." What they couldn't pack into a box, the relationships I'd built, the personal cell numbers saved in my phone, the trust earned through countless hours of meticulous work. As security watched me fill a banker's box, I thought about Hartley Industries, about how their CEO, Patricia Hartley, had specifically requested me after I'd saved them from a catastrophic merger 2 years ago, about how she'd invited me to her daughter's wedding, about how she had no idea that tomorrow, her $12 million acquisition would be handled by someone who thought whereas was spelled whereas. I signed the papers, took my box, handed over my keycard. But as I walked out of Peterman Legal for the last time, past the marble lobby and the commissioned portraits of 3 generations of Petermans, I wasn't thinking about what I'd lost. I was thinking about what they'd forgotten I still had. I sat in my home office at 2:15 p.m., still wearing my suit, staring at the banker's box like it might explain what had just happened. The house was quiet, too quiet for a Monday afternoon. I should have been in the Hartley meeting right now, walking Patricia through the final terms. Instead, I was unemployed. The shock was wearing off, replaced by something sharper, anger, maybe, or clarity. I opened my laptop and started taking inventory of what I actually possessed versus what Peterman Legal thought they owned. First, the documents. Over 3 years, I developed a comprehensive system of contract templates, due diligence checklists, and negotiation frameworks. The firm had never asked me to transfer these to their servers, probably because no one there understood their value. They sat in my personal cloud storage, meticulously organized, my intellectual property, created on my own time, refined through hundreds of deals. Second, the contacts. I pulled out my personal phone and scrolled through the numbers. Patricia Hartley, David Kim from Nexus Industries, Sarah Rodriguez at Blackstone Holdings, 41 CEOs, CFOs, and general counsels who had my direct line because Peterman Legal's official channels meant waiting 3 days for a callback. These weren't just business cards collected at networking events. These were people who texted me photos of their kids, who asked for restaurant recommendations, who trusted me with their corporate secrets, because I'd proven myself through years of 2 a.m. crisis calls and weekend emergency sessions. Third, the knowledge. I opened a spreadsheet and started listing every active deal, every pending negotiation, every client quirk and preference. Johnson Tech needed everything in blue ink. Their CEO was superstitious. Meridian Corp required all meetings before 10 a.m. because their board was based in London. Hartley Industries had a hidden arbitration clause in their vendor agreements that I'd discovered and quietly rectified in 17 different contracts. Details that weren't in any file. Context that couldn't be transferred in a 1-hour transition meeting with someone who thought due diligence meant running a Google search. My phone buzzed. Marcus, my former supervisor. "Heard what happened. Can't believe it. Jake says Tori is taking over your files. God help us all." I didn't respond. The NDA was vague about personal communications, and I wasn't taking chances. But Marcus's text confirmed what I suspected: panic was already setting in. I pulled up the Texas Bar Association website. The non-compete clause Jake had made me sign was 18 months, but non-competes in Texas were notoriously difficult to enforce, especially when the termination was without cause, especially when the employee could demonstrate that their departure was handled in bad faith. Being fired to make room for the boss's unqualified girlfriend, that might qualify. I made a list of what I couldn't do: solicit Peterman's clients directly, share confidential information, disparage the firm publicly. Then I made a list of what I could do: maintain personal friendships, work as an independent consultant, share my own intellectual property, respond if contacted. The distinction mattered. I couldn't reach out to Patricia Hartley about the acquisition, but if Patricia Hartley reached out to me, different story. By 4:30 p.m., I'd transformed my dining room into a war room. 3 years of accumulated knowledge spread across the table. Not client files, those belonged to Peterman, but my personal notes, my systems, my frameworks, the infrastructure I'd built that had made me indispensable. Or so I'd thought. I created a new email address, R. Miles Consulting, not a competing firm, just a professional presence. Updated my LinkedIn to Independent Legal Consultant. No mention of Peterman Legal. No violation of any agreement. Then I waited. The first text came at 5:43 p.m. Patricia Hartley. Rachel, the new lawyer just asked me what force majeure means. Please tell me this is a joke. I stared at the message. Technically, responding about the Hartley acquisition would violate the NDA, but expressing sympathy for a friend's frustration. I'm no longer with Peterman Legal as of today. I hope your deal proceeds smoothly. Her response was immediate. What call me? Now. I'm bound by certain agreements. I can't discuss specifics. Can you discuss anything over coffee as friends? I smiled for the first time all day. As friends always. By 8 p.m., I'd received similar messages from 6 other clients. Word traveled fast in Houston's corporate circles. Each carefully worded response made it clear I was gone. I was restricted, but I existed. Jake Peterman thought he'd surgically removed a replaceable cog from his machine. He'd sent emails to the staff about new directions and fresh perspectives, probably written by the same ChatGPT that Tori used for legal documents. What he didn't understand, what 3 generations of Peterman lawyers had never understood, was that modern legal practice wasn't about the firm's name on the letterhead. It was about the 3 a.m. phone calls, the weekend emergencies, the trusted voice on the other end of the line who actually knew what force majeure meant. They had the building, the letterhead, the marble lobby. I had everything else. 3 days into unemployment, I sat across from Martin Bailey in a conference room that smelled like leather and old money. Bailey & Locke LLP occupied 2 floors of a building 6 blocks from Peterman Legal, close enough to share the same lunch spots, far enough to maintain professional distance. Rachel Miles. Martin leaned back in his chair, studying me over his reading glasses. I've been wondering when you'd finally leave that circus. I'd reached out to Martin through a mutual contact, carefully framing my request. Not job-seeking that might violate the spirit of my agreements. Just 2 legal professionals discussing the market over coffee. The fact that we'd moved from the coffee shop to his office was his idea. I'm exploring my options, I said carefully. Consulting, perhaps, independent work? Independent work, he smiled. With your client relationships. I maintain personal friendships with many Houston executives. Naturally, those friendships persist regardless of my employment status. Martin was 71, had built his firm from nothing, and understood exactly what I wasn't saying. Bailey & Locke had 30 lawyers to Peterman's 150, but they'd survived 40 years by being smart, not big. Hypothetically, he said, if Bailey & Locke were to bring on an independent consultant, not an employee, mind you someone with extensive contract experience and established relationships, how might that work? Hypothetically, such an arrangement would need to respect any existing agreements the consultant might have. No direct solicitation, no sharing of proprietary information. But if clients were to independently seek out that consultant, they'd need representation. They'd need options. Martin poured himself water from a crystal pitcher. Jake Peterman called me yesterday, warned me about a former employee who might try to violate her non-compete, suggested any firm that helped her would face litigation. My stomach tightened. And I told him Bailey & Locke doesn't respond well to threats, especially empty ones from children playing dress-up in their daddy's suits. For the first time in days, I felt something like hope. Here's what I propose, Martin continued. Bailey & Locke brings you on as an independent consultant, not an employee that keeps you clear of the non-compete. You work on your own matters, build your own practice. We provide infrastructure, malpractice coverage, and most importantly, legal protection if Peterman decides to get nasty. What's your cut? 40% of billings. That's high, I know. But it includes full litigation support if they come after you, and trust me, they will. 40% was steep. At Peterman, I'd kept nothing beyond my salary, but 40% of something beat 100% of nothing. I need to think about it. Of course, but Rachel? Don't think too long. Jake Peterman is young, stupid, and scared. That's a dangerous combination. I left Bailey and Locke at 4:30 p.m. with Martin's offer in writing. As I waited for the elevator, my phone buzzed. 5 texts in rapid succession. Patricia Hartley. Deal fell through. New lawyer missed critical deadline. Board is furious. David Kim. Can we talk urgent issue with our contracts? Sarah Rodriguez. Rachel, please tell me you're still practicing somewhere. Marcus. Tori just asked if contracts need to be notarized. I'm hiding in my office. And most surprisingly, from a number I didn't recognize. Ms. Miles. I'm general counsel at Traverse Industries. Patricia Hartley suggested I reach out. Are you taking new clients? Traverse Industries. $20 billion in revenue. Never a Peterman client. I sat in my car in the parking garage, engine off, staring at the messages. The smart play was to wait. Let the non-compete period pass. Start fresh in 18 months. The safe play. But I kept thinking about Patricia's text. Deal fell through. A $12 million acquisition I'd spent 3 months perfecting. Destroyed in 3 days by someone who couldn't spell force majeure. I thought about all the other deals in progress. The clients who didn't know their contracts were now in the hands of someone who thought legal research meant asking an AI chatbot. The years of relationships about to be destroyed by incompetence. I called Martin Bailey. That was fast, he answered. I accept. With conditions. I won't solicit any Peterman clients. But if they come to me, I'll represent them. If Peterman wants a fight, they better bring more than daddy's money and empty threats. Welcome to Bailey and Locke. Counselor, can you start Monday? I can start now. I have 5 friends who need legal advice, and 1 potential new client who's never worked with Peterman. Martin laughed. I like you already. Come back tomorrow. We'll get you set up. And Rachel, document everything. Every text, every call, every contact who reaches out. We're going to need it. I hung up and composed a simple LinkedIn update. Pleased to announce I'm now consulting with Bailey and Locke LLP. Looking forward to new challenges and continued relationships. Professional, vague, completely within my rights. Within an hour, I had 43 reactions and 11 private messages. Word spread fast in legal circles, faster when people were desperate. I didn't respond to any from current Peterman clients, not yet, but I did respond to Traverse Industries, scheduling a meeting for Friday. My phone rang, unknown number, Houston area code. Rachel. Thank God. Patricia Hartley's voice was strained. I know you can't talk about Peterman business. I'm not calling about that. I'm calling because Traverse Industries needs contract help, and I told them you're the best in Houston. That's just friendly advice between friends, right? Just friendly advice, I agreed. Good, because I'd hate to think my recommendation would cause you any problems, especially since, as a friend, I might mention your name to a few other executives who've been complaining about their current representation. The line went quiet. We both knew what she was really saying. I appreciate your friendship, Patricia. Likewise. Oh, and Rachel Jake Peterman is an ass. That's not business talk. That's just one friend to another. She hung up before I could respond. I sat in my car as the garage lights flickered on, watching the sun set through the concrete levels. 3 days ago, I'd been fired for lacking cultural fit. Now I had a new firm, legal protection, and clients literally creating opportunities to work with me without violating any agreements. Jake Peterman had wanted innovation and disruption. He was about to get it. The first domino fell at 3:22 a.m. on a Tuesday. I was awake, reviewing the Texas Data Privacy Act amendments that had gone into effect 6 months ago, the kind of tedious regulatory update that made most lawyers' eyes glaze over. But details mattered, especially details that could cost companies millions in fines. My phone lit up. Sarah Rodriguez from Blackstone Holdings. Rachel, I know it's late, but I just got a compliance notice from the state. Something about data privacy violations. Our lawyers say it's nothing, but the potential fine is 7 figures. Can you take a look? Our lawyers, Peterman Legal, Send me the notice, I typed back. No charge for a friend's peace of mind. The document came through immediately. I'd seen dozens like it. Texas had started aggressive enforcement of the new privacy regulations. Companies had 90 days to remediate or face escalating penalties. Scanning through Blackstone's notice, I found the issue immediately. Their customer data retention policies hadn't been updated, still using language from 2019. It was exactly the kind of detail I'd flagged in a firm-wide memo 8 months ago, a memo Jake had probably never read. Sarah, you need specialized privacy counsel immediately. This is serious. The notice cites Article 7.3 violations, that's the bad one. Bailey & Locke has an excellent data privacy team. Can you handle it? I can work with our privacy specialists, but you need to move fast. Day 45 of your notice period is Thursday. I'm calling our board chair now. Expect a call from legal in the morning. By 9 a.m., Blackstone Holdings had officially retained Bailey & Locke for emergency privacy remediation. Their first act, requesting all documentation from Peterman Legal regarding previous privacy compliance work. The files Peterman sent over were a disaster. Outdated templates, boilerplate language, no evidence of the comprehensive audit I'd recommended and documented last year. Martin Bailey walked into my temporary office at 10:15, grinning. Peterman's paralegal just called. Wants to know if we have a template thingy for data privacy compliance. I told her we practice law, not Mad Libs. That paralegal is handling 41 corporate accounts. 40. Rodriguez just formally terminated Peterman's representation. Conflict of interest. She said, can't have the firm that missed the violation defending against it. 1 down, 40 to go. I spent the next 72 hours in a caffeine-fueled haze, working with Bailey & Locke's privacy team to build Blackstone's remediation plan. We filed the response with 12 hours to spare, avoiding a $2 million fine. Sarah called me Friday afternoon. Rachel, you just saved us more than Peterman billed us in 5 years. I'm recommending Bailey & Locke to every CEO in my network. I appreciate that, but nothing. I'm not soliciting you to violate anything. I'm telling my peers about excellent legal services. What they do with that information is their business. The second domino was already wobbling. David Kim from Nexus Industries had discovered a similar issue, not privacy this time, but export compliance. Another regulation change. Another outdated Peterman template. Another 7-figure exposure. By Monday, I'd created what I called the Regulatory Alert System, anonymous notifications sent to general business addresses, warning about common compliance gaps, no client information, no proprietary data, just public service announcements about regulatory changes that might affect Houston businesses. You're playing with fire, Martin warned, reviewing my carefully drafted alerts. Peterman will claim you're using insider knowledge. Every regulation I'm citing is public record. Every deadline is published by the state. If Peterman's clients happen to realize their current counsel isn't keeping up with basic regulatory changes, that's on Peterman. He signed off on the alerts. Send them. The exodus started slowly. A call here, an inquiry there. Hi, we're exploring options for specialized counsel. We need a second opinion on some compliance matters. Our board is requesting competitive bids for legal services. Corporate speak for our current lawyers are incompetent, and we're scared. Marcus texted me updates from inside Peterman. Emergency all-hands meeting, Jake screaming about loyalty, Tori crying in bathroom, 3 senior associates quit today. I didn't respond, but I saved every message, documentation, like Martin said. Wednesday brought the news I'd been expecting Peterman. Legal filed a cease and desist order against me personally and Bailey & Locke as a firm. Violation of non-compete, tortious interference, theft of trade secrets. Martin called me into his office, where 3 litigation partners were already assembled. They're claiming you're using proprietary Peterman methodologies to steal clients. Our lead litigator, Janet Walsh, explained. They want an immediate injunction plus damages. What methodologies? Their outdated templates, their missed deadlines. They're saying you had access to confidential client information that you're now exploiting. I pulled out my laptop. Every alert I've sent is based on public regulations. Every client who's contacted me did so independently, and as for methodologies, I opened my cloud storage. These are my templates, my checklists, created on my personal time, stored on my personal devices, time-stamped years before Jake Peterman even knew what a law firm was. Janet smiled. Can you prove Peterman never asked you to transfer these to their systems? Better, I can show emails where I offered to implement firm-wide systems and was told it wasn't a priority. Jake's father said, and I quote, "Why fix what isn't broken?" It's broken now, Martin said. 9 clients have moved over this week. 32 more have requested proposals. At this rate, Peterman will lose half their corporate practice by Christmas. The conference room phone buzzed. Martin's assistant. Mr. Bailey Jake Peterman is here, demanding to see you immediately. Martin looked at me. Want to face him? Wouldn't miss it. Send him in, Martin told his assistant. Then, to me, remember, let us do the talking. The door burst open. Jake Peterman stood there, designer suit wrinkled, hair disheveled, looking nothing like the smug executive who'd fired me 2 weeks ago. You, he pointed at me, hand shaking. You destroyed everything. 41 clients. Rachel, 41. Mr. Peterman, Janet interrupted smoothly, any communication should go through counsel. Screw counsel. She knows what she did. Sabotage, corporate espionage. I'll sue you into bankruptcy. Looking forward to discovery, Janet said. Particularly the part where we examine why Ms. Miles was terminated and who replaced her and that person's qualifications. Jake's face went pale. Discovery would mean depositions, under oath, about Tori. This isn't over, he said, but the threat was hollow. My father. Your father built a respectable firm. Martin stood. You destroyed it in 6 months. Ms. Miles just refused to go down with the ship. Now, unless you have a valid legal matter to discuss, get out of my office. Jake left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. Janet turned to me. He's panicking. Panicked people make mistakes. Keep doing exactly what you're doing. That afternoon, 3 more clients called. Not about compliance issues this time. They'd heard about Jake's meltdown. Heard he'd stormed into Bailey and Locke making threats. Professional services relied on one thing above all: trust. And Jake Peterman had just shown 41 corporate clients exactly who they'd been trusting with their legal matters. The emergency board meeting at Peterman Legal started at 8 a.m. sharp on Thursday. I knew because Marcus live-streamed it from the parking lot, apparently. Jake had called an all-hands meeting but forgot the conference room windows faced the street. Complete meltdown, Marcus texted. Senior partners demanding answers, Jake blaming everyone but himself. I was in my Bailey and Locke office, preparing for 3 client meetings, when Janet Walsh knocked. Thought you'd want to see this. She handed me a printout from Legal Industry Daily. The headline read, Peterman Legal Hemorrhaging Clients Amid Leadership Crisis. The article was brutal. Anonymous sources discussing the firm's chaos, clients questioning the sudden departures, and buried in paragraph 6, sources indicate that numerous Fortune 500 companies have received compliance violations potentially costing millions, raising questions about the firm's competency. We didn't leak anything, Janet assured me. Didn't have to. When 9 major corporations fire their law firm in 2 weeks, people notice. My phone buzzed. Patricia Hartley. Board meeting in 1 hour. We're discussing permanent counsel change. Thought you should know. I set the phone down carefully. Patricia was being strategic. Boardroom discussions were confidential. But if Hartley Industries was considering a change, she'd need options ready. Smart executives didn't fire their lawyers without replacements lined up. At 10:30, I was reviewing contracts when Martin appeared in my doorway with someone I didn't recognize, a distinguished woman in her 60s. Rachel, meet Joyce Brennan from Traverse Industries. Joyce, Rachel Miles. I stood, shaking hands with the general counsel of one of Texas's largest companies. the new client Patricia had mentioned. Ms. Miles, Joyce said, studying me with sharp eyes. I've heard interesting things. 41 companies can't be wrong. I maintain strong professional relationships, I said carefully. Cut the lawyer speak, Joyce smiled. I've been in this business 40 years. I know a coup when I see one. The question is, can you handle what's coming? What's coming? Peterman is desperate. They've hired Bradford and Associates to sue you. Bailey and Locke, and any client who switches firms, tortious interference, they're claiming conspiracy to destroy a business. Bradford and Associates, the firm that defended tobacco companies and chemical polluters. When you hired Bradford, you weren't looking for justice, you were looking for blood. They can try, Martin said. We have documentation showing every client contacted us independently. Documentation won't matter if they bury you in motions, Joyce said. Bradford will file in multiple jurisdictions, demand expedited hearings, basically bleed you dry with legal fees. Why are you telling us this? I asked. Because Traverse Industries needs new counsel, and I don't like being threatened. Jake Peterman called our CEO yesterday, said any company that hires you will be named in their lawsuit, claimed you have stolen trade secrets that give unfair competitive advantages. My stomach clenched. What did your CEO say? He said Traverse doesn't negotiate with terrorists, Joyce grinned. Then he authorized me to retain Bailey and Locke immediately. Full corporate representation, 5-year contract. Martin actually gasped. Traverse would be Bailey and Locke's largest client by far. There's more, Joyce continued. I've spoken with my counterparts at several other companies. We're forming what we're calling a legal defense consortium. Any company that gets sued for changing firms will have their defense costs covered by the group. A union for corporations, I asked. Insurance? Strength in numbers? Also sends a message you come after one of us. You fight all of us. By noon, 17 companies had joined the consortium. By 2 p.m., 23. The response from Peterman was swift and predictable. At 3:45, a process server arrived with a stack of lawsuits. Bailey and Locke was named in 6 different actions across 3 jurisdictions. I was personally named in 4. Janet assembled our litigation team in the main conference room. They're throwing everything at the wall. RICO claims, conspiracy, theft of trade secrets, intentional infliction of emotional distress, that's a new one. Emotional distress. I read through the complaint. Jake Peterman is claiming I caused him severe psychological trauma by doing my job too well. It's a scare tactic, Janet said. But defending against multiple suits will cost nothing, Joyce Brennan interrupted, walking in uninvited. The consortium's outside counsel will handle all defense. We've retained Morrison, Klein and Black. Morrison Klein. They didn't just fight lawsuits, they eviscerated them. Having them on our side was like bringing a nuclear weapon to a knife fight. Additionally, Joyce continued, we're filing our own action, defamation, business disparagement, and abuse of process. Jake Peterman made recorded statements to multiple CEOs threatening their companies. That's actionable. Martin looked at me. This is escalating beyond what any of us expected. I thought about Jake in his corner office, feet on his father's desk, firing me because I didn't fit his vision of innovation. I thought about Tori, probably crying in a bathroom somewhere as another deal collapsed. I thought about 41 companies that had trusted me with their success, now scrambling to protect themselves from a firm that had forgotten its only job was to serve clients. Let it escalate, I said. Jake wanted disruption. He's about to learn what that really means. Joyce smiled. I like her, Martin. No wonder Patricia speaks so highly of her. My phone vibrated. Another text from Marcus. Emergency partner meeting just called. Rumor is Jake's father is flying back from Europe. This is bad. I showed the text to Janet. William Peterman, the founder. He retired 2 years ago. If he's coming back. Martin shook his head. This isn't just about losing clients anymore. This is about saving the firm. Too late for that, Joyce said, checking her phone. I just got word. 3 more companies filed termination letters this afternoon. That makes 26 total. 26 of 41, in just under 3 weeks. The phone in the conference room rang. Martin's assistant. Mr. Bailey William Peterman is on line 1. Says it's urgent. We all looked at each other. The founder himself. Put him through, Martin said, hitting speaker. Martin, the voice was older but commanding. Is Ms. Miles there? I'm here, Mr. Peterman, I said. Rachel, a long pause. What would it take to make this stop? I'm not sure I understand the question. Don't play games. My firm is dying. My son is an idiot, but it's still my name on the building. What do you want? I looked at Martin, who nodded. I want nothing. Mr. Peterman, your clients are making their own choices. Bullshit. This is coordinated. This is revenge. This is consequences, I said. Your son fired me to give my job to his girlfriend. Did you know that? Did you know Tori doesn't even have a law degree? Silence. Then, I'll handle Jake. Come back. Name your terms. Full equity partnership. Your own division. Whatever you want. It's too late for that. It's never too late. I built this firm from nothing. I won't watch it die. You should have thought of that before you retired and left it to someone who thinks law is about disruption and synergy. Rachel. Goodbye, Mr. Peterman. I hung up. The room was silent. Then Joyce started laughing. Oh, that was beautiful. The old man himself, begging. He'll fight harder now, Janet warned. Wounded pride is dangerous. Let him fight, I said. Every lawsuit, every threat, every desperate move just proves what everyone already knows. Peterman Legal is finished. They just haven't admitted it yet. My phone lit up with notifications, more clients reaching out, more companies joining the consortium, more dominoes falling. Jake Peterman had wanted to transform his father's firm. Mission accomplished. The call came at 11:45 p.m. on a Sunday. Joyce Brennan, sounding uncharacteristically excited. Rachel, are you awake? Check your email. Now. I was in bed, laptop already open, working on a contract review. The email was from someone I didn't recognize, a mid-level attorney at Peterman Legal. Ms. Miles, I'm taking a significant career risk contacting you, but you deserve to know what's happening. Peterman is about to sign Thorn Industries to an exclusive 5-year representation agreement. $20 million in guaranteed billings. The contracts are based on your old templates, but they haven't been updated for the new federal trade regulations that took effect last month. If Thorn signs these, they'll be exposed to massive penalties. I thought someone should warn them. Thorn Industries, one of the 3 clients who'd stayed with Peterman, mainly because their CEO, Robert Thorn, was William Peterman's golf buddy. Joyce, I can't act on this. It's clearly confidential information. You can't, but I can. Thorn's board includes 2 members of our consortium. They have a fiduciary duty to protect the company from legal malpractice. That's a very creative interpretation. I'm a very creative lawyer. Send me the email. I'll handle it from here. I hesitated. Using inside information felt wrong, even if I hadn't solicited it. But then I thought about Thorn Industries' thousands of employees, millions in revenue, about to sign documents that could destroy them because their lawyers were too incompetent to track regulatory changes. I forwarded the email. Monday morning brought chaos. At 7 a.m., Martin called an emergency meeting. Thorn Industries has postponed their signing ceremony, he announced. Their board is demanding an independent review of the contracts. They've also requested proposals from 3 firms, including us. How did they... I started, then stopped. Better not to know. However, Martin continued, Peterman has responded by filing an emergency injunction. They're claiming we're using stolen information to interfere with their business. Janet Walsh handed out copies of the filing. They're seeking an immediate restraining order preventing us from communicating with any current or former Peterman client. If granted, it would effectively shut down half our practice. The hearing is tomorrow morning, Martin said. Federal court, Judge Chen. I winced. Judge Chen was notoriously harsh on corporate disputes. She'd once sanctioned a firm for what she called predatory client acquisition. "We need to prove everything we've done is above board," Janet said. "Rachel, I need every email, every text, every communication you've had since leaving Peterman." I spent the next 12 hours in document review with our litigation team, every message carefully cataloged, Patricia Hartley's friendly advice, Sarah Rodriguez's panicked compliance questions, David Kim's casual lunch invitations that turned into business discussions. "It's clean," Janet concluded at 8 p.m. "Every client reached out first. You never solicited. But what? The Thorne information. If they can prove we acted on insider knowledge?" "We didn't," I said. I forwarded an unsolicited email to Joyce. What she did with it was her business. That's thin. It's what we have. Tuesday morning, Federal Courthouse, 9 a.m. sharp. The Peterman team took up one entire side of the courtroom. Bradford and Associates had sent their A-team 6 partners, 12 associates, enough paper to deforest a small country. Our side was leaner. Martin, Janet, 2 associates, and me. William Peterman sat in the front row, his face carved from stone. Jake was nowhere to be seen. "Probably hiding," Janet whispered. "Daddy's back in charge." Judge Chen entered, and the room fell silent. She was younger than I'd expected, with eyes that missed nothing. "I've reviewed the filings," she began. "Peterman Legal alleges a coordinated conspiracy to destroy their business. Ms. Walsh, your response?" Janet stood. "Your Honor, our clients are sophisticated businesses making independent decisions about legal representation. There's no conspiracy, only market forces responding to service failures." "Mr. Bradford?" The judge turned to Peterman's lead counsel. Bradford was everything a big law partner should be: silver-haired, pinstriped, radiating authority. "Your Honor, the timeline speaks for itself. Ms. Miles was terminated on a Monday. By Friday, she was working for a competitor. Within 2 weeks, 26 clients had fired Peterman Legal. This isn't coincidence, it's orchestrated destruction. Do you have evidence of solicitation?" "The pattern itself is evidence. No firm loses 60% of its revenue by accident." Judge Chen looked at me. "Ms. Miles, please stand." My legs felt weak, but I stood. "You worked at Peterman Legal for 3 years." "Yes, Your Honor." "And you were terminated without cause." Bradford objected. "The nature of her termination is not relevant." "I'll decide what's relevant. Counselor, Ms. Miles. I was told I lacked cultural fit and was replaced by someone without a law license." A murmur ran through the courtroom. William Peterman's face darkened. "And these clients who left Peterman, did you contact them?" "No, Your Honor. They contacted me. I have documentation of every communication." "What about Thorne Industries? Peterman alleges you received confidential information about their contracts." This was the moment. Tell the truth and risk everything, or lie to a federal judge. "I received an unsolicited email from a concerned attorney at Peterman. I forwarded it to a colleague. I took no action regarding Thorne Industries directly." "Your Honor," Bradford interrupted, "that's legal semantics. She clearly—" "Mr. Bradford." Judge Chen's voice could have frozen fire. "I've been a judge for 15 years. Before that, I was a prosecutor. I know the difference between legal semantics and legal fact. Ms. Miles received information she didn't request and passed it to someone else. Unless you can prove she solicited that information or acted on it directly, you have no case." "But the pattern—" "The pattern shows a law firm losing clients after terminating a key employee. That's not conspiracy. Mr. Bradford, that's capitalism." She turned back to the full courtroom. "I've seen a lot of corporate litigation. Most of it is about money. This case is different. This is about trust. Clients trusted Ms. Miles. When Peterman Legal broke faith with her, those clients exercised their right to seek representation elsewhere." "Your Honor," William Peterman stood, ignoring his lawyer's attempts to stop him. "That woman is destroying everything I built." "No, sir," Judge Chen replied. Your son did that when he prioritized nepotism over competence. Case dismissed with prejudice. Peterman Legal will pay defendants' legal fees. And Mr. Bradford, if I see another filing like this in my court, I'll be considering sanctions." The gavel came down like thunder. In the hallway afterward, William Peterman approached. His lawyers tried to intervene, but he waved them off. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "Yes, it is," I replied. "Check with Thorne Industries. I think you'll find they've made their decision." My phone was already buzzing. A text from Joyce. "Thorne just signed with Bailey and Locke. That makes 39. William Peterman must have gotten the same news." His shoulders sagged. "Aging 10 years in 10 seconds. 40 years, he said. "I built that firm for 40 years. And your son destroyed it in 6 months. I just refused to be collateral damage." I walked away, leaving him standing in the federal courthouse hallway, surrounded by lawyers who couldn't save him from the consequences of his own choices. Wednesday morning, 7:45 a.m. I was reviewing the Thorne Industries contract when Marcus called. He never called any more too risky with everything happening. "Rachel, turn on KHO, now." I found the remote, flipped to Houston's business channel. The anchor was mid-sentence. "Confirmed that Peterman Legal has lost 17% of its value after Blackstone Holdings announced they are pursuing legal action against the firm for gross negligence." My coffee mug stopped halfway to my lips. The screen showed Sarah Rodriguez outside the courthouse. "Peterman Legal failed to update our compliance protocols, resulting in significant regulatory exposure. We're seeking damages for malpractice and breach of fiduciary duty." My phone exploded. Texts, calls, emails. I turned it off and kept watching. The anchor continued. "This comes just one day after Peterman lost a federal injunction attempt against Bailey and Locke. Sources indicate at least 6 other companies are considering similar malpractice suits." The camera cut to William Peterman emerging from his building, ambushed by reporters. He looked haggard, his usual commanding presence reduced to a tired old man. "No comment," he repeated, pushing through the crowd. Then they showed Jake. He was trying to sneak out the back entrance, but cameras found him anyway. His suit was wrinkled, his Stanford boy confidence completely gone. "Mr. Peterman, is it true you gave client files to an unlicensed paralegal? Did you fire Rachel Miles to hire your girlfriend? How do you respond to allegations of gross incompetence?" Jake made the fatal mistake of stopping, of trying to defend himself. "This is a witch hunt," he said, voice cracking. "Rachel Miles orchestrated this entire—" "So you confirm she was instrumental to your firm's success?" a reporter interrupted. "No, that's not what I—" "Is it true your girlfriend failed to file critical documents in the Hartley acquisition?" Jake's face went red. "Tori is highly qualified." "Does she have a law license?" Silence. The camera zoomed in on his face as he realized what he'd just admitted on live television. Martin appeared in my doorway. "You seeing this?" "It's hard to watch," I said, and it was. Not because I felt sorry for Jake, but because it was like watching a building collapse in slow motion, fascinating and terrible. "Joyce Brennan's on line 1. Says it's urgent." I picked up the phone. "Joyce. Emergency consortium meeting in 1 hour. My office. Can you make it?" "What's happening?" "Endgame. Rachel. Time to decide how this story ends." Traverse Industries occupied the top 5 floors of the Pennzoil Tower. Joyce's office had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Houston, including, I noticed, a direct view of the Peterman Legal Building 6 blocks away. 23 executives were already assembled when I arrived with Martin and Janet. CEOs, general counsels, board members, probably $5 billion of corporate power in one room. "Let's cut to the chase," Joyce began. "Peterman Legal is finished. The question is, do we let them die slowly, or do we end it now?" "What are you proposing?" asked David Kim. "A buyout. The consortium purchases Peterman's assets, their client files, their building lease, their intellectual property. We redistribute everything to our new firms, clean, surgical, final. Why would we want their liabilities? Someone asked. We don't. We want their dissolution, a controlled bankruptcy versus a messy collapse. Better for the market, better for the remaining employees who didn't create this mess. Patricia Hartley spoke up. What about the partners? The associates who had nothing to do with Jake's incompetence? We offer jobs to anyone worth saving, Joyce said. The rest find new careers. And the Petermans? David asked. Joyce smiled coldly. William keeps his retirement. Jake gets nothing. Part of the deal. I felt the room turn to look at me. These were my former clients, my relationships. They were waiting for my input. There's another option, I said. We don't buy them out. We let them fail. It sends a message: treat your people badly. Lose everything. That's vindictive, someone said. That's justice, Patricia countered. How many firms will think twice about firing good people for bad reasons if they see what happened here? The room erupted in debate. Some wanted the clean solution. Others wanted blood. I sat back, watching 41 relationships I'd built over 3 years decide the fate of a century-old law firm. Finally, Joyce called for a vote. All in favor of a buyout. 12 hands. All in favor of letting them fail. 11 hands. Joyce turned to me. Looks like you're the tiebreaker, Rachel? The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The woman Jake fired for lacking cultural fit would decide if his family's firm lived or died. I thought about William Peterman, 40 years building something his son destroyed in months. I thought about the senior associates like Marcus, good lawyers trapped in a bad situation. I thought about the support staff secretaries, paralegals, IT people who'd lose their jobs through no fault of their own. Then I thought about Tori, sitting in my old office, Googling legal terms while $12 million deals fell apart. Buyout, I said. But with conditions. Any partner who enabled Jake's behavior gets nothing. Any employee who wants to leave gets full severance, and Jake publicly acknowledges his role in the firm's failure. He'll never agree to that, Martin said. Then we let them burn, Joyce said. Rachel's terms or bankruptcy, their choice. The meeting ended at 11:30 a.m. By 2 p.m., William Peterman had agreed to negotiate. The final meeting was held at Baker Botts, neutral ground. William brought 2 lawyers. The consortium brought 20. I wasn't supposed to be there technically. I was just a consultant at Bailey & Locke. But Joyce insisted, and William didn't object. He looked older than when I'd last seen him in court, defeat etched in every line of his face. The terms are non-negotiable, Joyce began. Complete asset transfer. All partners forfeit their capital accounts except you. William, you keep your retirement fund. Jake gets standard unemployment. He also signs this. She slid a single page across the table. A public statement acknowledging that his mismanagement led to the firm's collapse. William read it slowly. This will destroy him. No firm will ever hire him. He destroyed himself, Joyce said. This just makes it official. And if we refuse? Then we walk away. Peterman legal files for bankruptcy by Friday. You lose everything, including your legacy. At least this way. The Peterman name dies with dignity. William picked up the pen. His hand shook as he signed. Jake won't sign, he said. Then Jake can explain to a bankruptcy judge why he gave client files to his unlicensed girlfriend. Janet said, his choice. The next morning, Thursday, Co. ran the statement as their lead story. Jake Peterman, in carefully worded legalese, admitted to failures of leadership that resulted in the loss of client confidence. By noon, Peterman Legal had officially ceased to exist. 41 clients smoothly transitioned to new firms. 87 employees received job offers. The building lease was divided among 3 growing firms. Marcus texted me that afternoon. Got an offer from Morrison Klein, senior associate position. Thank you. I didn't do anything, I replied. You did everything. Jake's working at his uncle's car dealership. By the way, Tori dumped him. I couldn't help but laugh. From corner office to used cars in less than a month. That evening, Martin called me into his office. Full partnership vote was unanimous. Welcome to Bailey and Locke, partner. Already, you brought in $40 million in billing. You revolutionized our compliance practice. You defeated one of Houston's oldest firms in single combat. What more do you want? I thought about it 3 weeks ago. I'd been fired for not being innovative enough. Now I was a partner at a firm that valued competence over connections. Corner office, I asked. Martin laughed. Done. Southeast corner. You can see the empty Peterman building from there. I don't need to see it, I said. I know what happens to places that forget why they exist. My phone buzzed. A LinkedIn notification. Jake Peterman had updated his profile sales associate at Peterman Automotive. I closed the app without reading more. The best revenge, I'd learned, wasn't destroying your enemies. It was letting them destroy themselves while you built something better from the ashes. 6 months later, I stood in my corner office at Bailey and Locke, watching the sun set over Houston's skyline. The Peterman building was dark, a for lease sign hanging in the lobby where portraits of 3 generations once presided. My assistant knocked. Ms. Miles, your 5 o'clock is here. Send them in. I turned from the window, expecting another client meeting. Instead, William Peterman walked in. He looked healthier than when I'd last seen him signing away his legacy. Retirement apparently agreed with him, even if the circumstances hadn't been his choice. Rachel, he nodded, taking in my office, the partnership plaques, the client appreciation awards, the success he'd fired me from achieving at his firm. Mr. Peterman, this is unexpected. May I sit? I gestured to the client chairs deliberately set at equal height to my desk. No power plays here. I owe you an apology, he began. You don't owe me anything. I do. I built that firm on one principle: take care of your people, and they'll take care of your clients. Somewhere along the way, I forgot that. Let my son forget it. When I retired, I knew Jake wasn't ready, but I thought the firm was strong enough to survive his learning curve. It might have been, I said, if he'd been willing to learn. William smiled sadly. You know what the ironic part is? The day before he fired you, I called him from Italy, told him to promote you to junior partner, said you were the future of the firm. I kept my face neutral, but inside, something twisted. Junior partner. It would have changed everything. What did he say? That you were too rigid, too focused on details, that the firm needed fresh perspectives. William laughed bitterly. Fresh perspectives. His girlfriend couldn't even spell, whereas... How is Jake? I asked, not because I cared, but because it seemed polite. Still selling cars, actually doing well at it. Turns out he's good at convincing people to buy things they don't need, just not good at delivering what he promised. We sat in silence for a moment. I didn't come here just to apologize, William said finally. I came to thank you. Thank me. For ending it cleanly. You could have let us spiral for years, bleeding clients and money. Instead, you gave us a quick death, merciful, in its way. I didn't do it for mercy. I know, but the result was the same. The employees landed safely. The clients got better representation. Even Jake learned a lesson, though it cost him everything to learn it. He stood to leave, then paused at the door. You know what my father told me when I started the firm, Billy, he said. The law is about trust. Clients trust you with their problems. Employees trust you with their careers. Break that trust, and you're not a lawyer anymore. You're just a con man with a license. Wise man. He was. I forgot his wisdom. Jake never learned it, but you understood it from day one. That's why they followed you. Rachel, not because you stole them, but because you never broke faith. He left without another word. I returned to the window, watching the city lights flicker on. 41 companies had trusted me with their legal needs. Now I had my own team's 6 associates, 3 paralegals, all carefully chosen for competence over connections. My phone buzzed, a text from Tori. Of all people. Ms. Miles, I know I have no right to ask, but I'm applying to law school. Would you consider writing a recommendation? I stared at the message, the woman who'd sat in my chair, who'd botched deals I'd spent months crafting, wanted my help. I started to delete it. Then I remembered William's words about trust and second chances. "Send me your application materials," I typed. "We'll discuss it over coffee." Because that's what the law was really about. Not revenge or destruction or even justice. It was about building something worth protecting, then protecting it with everything you had. Jake Peterman had taught me that lesson by failing to learn it himself. His family's firm was gone, reduced to a cautionary tale told at legal conferences. But the relationships I'd built, the trust I'd earned, the reputation I'd protected, those survived. My assistant knocked again. "Ms. Miles, the Bailey & Locke new associate orientation is ready for your keynote." I straightened my jacket, prepared to tell 20 eager young lawyers about the importance of client relationships, institutional knowledge, and never forgetting why we exist. "Oh," she added, "and Mr. Bailey asked me to remind you about the partnership dinner tonight. They're announcing the new managing partner." I smiled. 3 weeks ago, the partners had voted unanimously. Houston's legal community was about to get another shock. The woman fired for lacking vision would be running one of its most successful firms. "Tell them I'll be right there," I said. As I headed to the conference room, I passed the wall where we'd hung the framed newspaper clipping, "Bailey & Locke emerges as Houston's fastest-growing firm." Below it, smaller text, "Success attributed to innovative compliance practice and exceptional client retention." No mention of Peterman Legal. No mention of the 41 clients who'd followed me. No mention of Jake's spectacular failure. History, I'd learned, was written by those who survived. And we hadn't just survived. We'd thrived. The conference room was packed with fresh faces, eager to start their careers at a firm that valued merit over names. I looked at them and saw myself 3 years ago, confident in my abilities, naive about politics, unaware how quickly everything could change. "Good afternoon," I began. "Let me tell you about the most important lesson you'll ever learn in this profession. It's not about knowing the law. Any decent AI can do that now. It's not about billing hours or winning cases. It's about trust. Lose that, and you lose everything. Keep it, and you'll build something that lasts." I thought about Jake Peterman, selling Toyotas in the suburbs, about William, playing golf in forced retirement, about Tori, starting over in law school. Then I thought about the 41 clients who'd trusted me enough to follow me into uncertainty, and the firm that had given me the chance to prove what I could build. "So let's talk about what trust really means," I continued, "and why it's the only currency that matters in this business." The eager faces leaned in, ready to learn, and I was finally ready to teach. Thank you so much for listening to this story of corporate revenge and redemption. I'm curious, where are you tuning in from while listening to this tale of Rachel's triumph? Drop a comment below and let me know what city or country you're in. I love connecting with listeners from around the world. If you enjoyed this story of sweet revenge, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. What would you have done in Rachel's position? Let's discuss in the comments.